USAC suspends a driver and team over a failed tire test, and we've got the details today. Also, the list of injured dirt racers grows with Stewart Friesen's ugly modified crash last night, Monday racing results, and what's coming up. Let's go. It's Tuesday, July 29th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. If you want to make sure you are always in the dirt racing loop, up on the latest news, results, and chatter, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or the podcast places. You can also like and follow DIRTRACKR on Facebook. That will make sure you never miss a fresh daily show. Video versions of the daily are posted 5 days a week to YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. You can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and at DIRTRACKR.com. And full show transcripts are available at DIRTRACKR.com/daily if you'd like to read the show or you know someone who is hard of hearing. Everything I've just mentioned here is free to do, and the daily shows are always free to watch and to listen to. The next milestone we're trying to reach is 50,000 on both YouTube and Facebook, so come along and join us, won't you? We will get rolling today with some penalty news that flew under the radar over the weekend. Back on Saturday, USAC, a bit quietly, announced that Jaden Rogers and his Amati racing team have been suspended from 6 USAC National Sprint Car races for a failed tire test, going back to the July 4th race at Lincoln Park Speedway. Rogers finished 13th that night after starting second, but has been DQ'd from the event. He's lost 44 championship points and must pay back the $675 in prize money earned that night. He's also been fined $2,500 per the USAC rulebook for the infraction. USAC's release says, quote, a sample taken on the night of the event failed to meet the benchmark after testing by an independent laboratory, unquote. Rogers isn't a full-time USAC driver this season and last raced on Thursday in the Invitational show at the IMS Dirt Track. He finished 10th in that one. He was an entrant on Friday at Lincoln Park, but shared to social media they found an engine issue and decided to load up. The penalty release from USAC is dated for Friday, but it looks via some metadata that it was posted on Saturday to the website. It was not shared to social media or distributed to any media outlets that I can see. If there are no additional rainouts this week and Friday's race at Lincoln Park is included in the 6-race ban, Rogers would be eligible to return to the series on Saturday at Haubstadt. That would be for the Indiana Sprint Week finale. In a social media post from yesterday, Rogers shared that the tire in question had been used for 4 races and that he believes the failure came from some type of penetrating oil they used to shine the outside of the tire. The initial sample cuts were from the outside edge, and that's possibly where the contamination came from. Rogers says USAC later took rows of samples from all the way across the tire and sent those to a different lab, and those came back clean. But because of the initial test failure, he's in breach of the rules and facing the suspension. Per USAC's rulebook, if a driver decides to appeal a failed tire test and loses, their penalty is then doubled, so 12 races and $5,000. If they appeal a third time, it doubles again to 24 races and $10,000. So in this instance, Rogers decided to just take the initial penalty and not try and fight it on appeal, potentially risking a heavier sanction. It's a pretty wild deal to take on the penalty, and then if you lose again, to have your penalty doubled. That is something I have never heard of. No other rule book that I can find has anything like that. Rogers also said the appeal would only be with the initial set of samples and not the second set that came back clean. Knowing that, I'd assume his chances of success on appeal would be pretty low. And like I said, never heard of a series levying heavy penalties on an offender for appealing, but it is right there in the USAC rulebook. I guess that clause does a good job of discouraging competitors from appealing, because avoiding appeals is really the only reason I can see for that being in place. Knowing that Rogers isn't a full-time driver, the suspension is probably not that big of a penalty, especially since his own 14 team is dealing with engine problems. I'm sure the $3,175 they have to pay to USAC probably hurts a lot more. You can see the release for yourself over at usacracing.com, and Jaden's comments are available at facebook.com/Jaden Roger Racing. Not Jaden Rogers, Jaden Roger Racing. Indiana Sprint Week continues tonight at Kokomo with the rescheduled show from the weekend that was rained out. Logan Seavey currently leads the Sprint Week points with 2 races complete. He's trailed by Briggs Danner and Kevin Thomas Jr. Justin Grant looks like he's going to miss some time with that broken foot he suffered the other night at Lawrenceburg. His wife Ashley shared yesterday that he needed surgery, and they aren't sure yet how long the recovery will be. CB and Robert Ballou with the 2 Sprint Week wins so far, plus JG's Indy win that was 9 points. After tonight, there is still Circle City, Terre Haute, Bloomington, and Hobstadt left on the Sprint Week slate. Moving on, the list of injured dirt racers continued to grow last night. This time it was modified racer Stewart Friesen involved in an ugly crash. He was competing with the Super Dirt Car Series at Autodrome Drummond in Canada. On lap 17 of the 75 lapper, Friesen went wide into turn 3 while battling in the top 5 and caught the end of the outside wall. Drummond with basically no outside wall down the backstretch, and Friesen's 44 car hit right where the wall begins on entrance to 3. He then went for a wild ride with the car briefly on fire. Friesen was then hit by multiple cars that were coming from behind as the 44 landed back onto the racing surface. In the aftermath, Friesen was communicating with safety workers and the race was delayed as they got the driver out and transported him to a local hospital. This morning, Friesen's wife Jessica shared that he has no head, neck, or spine injuries, but did suffer a, quote, open book pelvic fracture, that sounds terrible, and a fractured right leg. He has since been transferred to a larger hospital to undergo surgery on the injuries. Off the top of my head, we now have 8 drivers who have suffered significant injuries in recent weeks. That includes Paul Nienheiser, Caleb Henry, Brad Sweet, Tyler Courtney, Aaron Reitzel, Ian Madsen, Justin Grant, and now Stewart Friesen. There's obviously no conclusive connection to any of these injuries as they happened in 3 different car types at 6 different racetracks. Matt Shepard was the winner last night, his 100th with the series. He topped Alex Payne and David Hebert to earn a guaranteed starting spot into the main event at Super Dirt Week. The SDS right back to racing at Drummond tonight. Up in Wisconsin, Ryan Gustin was back in victory lane with the World of Outlaws late models at Wilmot Raceway. It was his first series victory since Swainsboro back in March. His team has been good, though, for much of the season. He's currently on a run of 14 top 8 finishes in his last 16 races. That's included 5 podium runs and laps led at Deer Creek. Gustin topped Bobby Pierce and Dennis Erb Jr. Erb also on a solid run as of late, 9 straight top 10 finishes and 3 straight podiums. Hats up as well to Boom Briggs, who ended up 6th in the final rundown. I think that's his best result in a national touring race in a few years. He even finished ahead of employee and teammate Tim McCready. The Outlaw teams are off today and tomorrow before the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake start on Thursday. We'll wrap it up right there for today. Don't forget you can watch the Daily Show completely ad-free over at patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. That is one of the perks of the top tier membership I have named a reserved seating. You can sign up free as a member on Patreon, but the premium tiers do have added benefits. So check that out at patreon.com/DIRTRACKR. If you want to see your streaming options for today as well, you can do that over at DIRTRACKR.com/watch tonight. There are a number of shows out there today. That page has what's racing, where it's happening, what streaming services on, start times where available, and links to watch. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.